Okay, you're ready to go buy a house. Well, some of you are and some of you are not. Pay attention here, and I'm going to tell you a few things that I guarantee you don't know, and they will help you and probably save you some money. First of all, I honestly could write a book about this subject. So rather than try to cover so much material, what I did was just decide I'd talk about maybe the most important 2 or 3 things and give you enough information here to get you started and to help you understand this process. And there is more to it than you think, so just stay tuned for a minute. First of all, before you even think about looking at houses, it's okay, go look on the internet, do all that stuff, but before you're ready to go out and look at houses, get a pre-approval letter from a mortgage company. I didn't say pre-qualification, I said pre-approval. So let me make sure you understand. Those are 2 completely different things. Pre-qualification letter isn't worth the paper it's written on, and most of your experienced agents know that. So if you call for a showing appointment on a house you want to see, and they require a pre-approval letter, and your agent sends them a pre-qualification, you're probably not going to see that house. And you certainly are not going to have an offer accepted on it, even with some agents that are not so experienced. The difference, quite frankly, is pre-qualification is you tell your mortgage company how much money you make, what your credit score is, how long you've been on your job, that you have your down payment, etc. And he says, based on what you've told me, I can qualify you up to X. And that's a pre-qualification letter, which means nothing. A pre-approval letter is when you go into the mortgage company, you write a check that covers the cost of checking your credit. You don't pull credit files for free. Mortgage companies don't. And you take in some information that they're going to tell you they need. Your last 2 years' tax returns, current paycheck stubs, some other stuff, and each mortgage company will a little bit different, but they all have 6 basic questions, and they will tell you what those are. So you take those in when you go to apply for that mortgage. You'll walk out the door with a pre-approval letter or get one a day or 2 later, and what that will do for you when an offer is made on a house that you want to buy, if the listing agent has half a brain, he's going to tell his client, his homeowner, that this particular offer comes from a guy who has a pre-approval letter from a mortgage company, and chances are he's well qualified to buy the home. We won't lose this over financing contingency. And that might just be the difference in why he accepts your offer and one that's for $10,000 more than yours. So it can't hurt you. When you get that pre-approval letter, number 2, get a GFE. That is a good faith estimate. Every mortgage guy will know exactly what you're talking about. GFE. What I'd suggest you do with that GFE is that's what you're going to use to shop your mortgage around. Just because you went in and talked to a mortgage company doesn't mean you got the best deal. A lot of times, especially if you bring that to me, it enables me to shop it around. Look at it this way, because this is the way it is. When you go to a mortgage company and apply for a mortgage, you're a one-time deal. He's going to get you in the front door, out the back, make your mortgage, see you again in 10 years. When he does something for me or somebody like me, a licensed agent, he's going to see me again later this week and all week next week. So he's going to do a lot better job for me just because he wants that repeat business. That's how he makes a living. So chances are I can get you a better deal than you can get you. That's not always true, but I can make an effort at it, and usually I can do that. So those are 2 things you need to do before you go thinking you're ready to look for a house. The next thing is really going to shock you, because I don't think you know this, and I don't think about 95% of the agents out there know it either. This is talking about the law. This is not some rule or regulation that the local association of realtors has dreamed up. This is the Florida law. And that is, if you're working with an agent, you're buying a home, he's helping you buy it, he has to work for the best interest of the person that owns the home, the seller. He has to try to get the best price, the best terms, and the best conditions for the seller, not for you. And if he doesn't do that, then he's violating the law and it's a felony. So if you have an agent and he is trying to help you, and et cetera, then he either doesn't know the law or else he's just not being truthful with you. I don't think it's a matter of truthfulness. I think most agents just don't know that. Now the question is, do you want to work with an agent that is that uninformed about the business he's in, or do you want to work with a true professional that knows and understands? All of our forms packages, which are put up by several different vendors and available to every licensed agent in the state of Florida, contain a buyer's broker agreement. Quite honestly, the buyer broker agreement that's in there is several pages long, obviously put together by members of the Florida Bar Association. There's all kind of where is and all that stuff in there. And I really wouldn't want to sign it if I was a member of the general public. It's just too darn much of it. So, agents like me cannot write contracts. We're not licensed to do that. If we do, then we're practicing law without a license. That's a felony also. So in order to remedy this problem, what I personally did, and I'm not going to put it on this website because other people will go copy it and I'm not doing their work for them. Being lucky enough to have a daughter that's an attorney, we got together, put together a very, very simple contract. It's a 30-day contract. It can be canceled at any time. There are some essentials that have to be in any contract in order for it to be a contract. I'm not going to go into, there's 5 of them, it doesn't matter what they are, but one of them is consideration, which means money. My contract is $1, and I've cleared this through the Florida Association of Realtors legal staff. A legal contract says it has to have consideration, doesn't say how much. And they have, although kind of, I'm sure, tongue-in-cheek, said, well, I can't see any reason that wouldn't work. $1's plenty. Doesn't say I have to collect the $1. It just simply says there has to be consideration in order for it to be a legal document. So here again, my buyer's broker agreement is very simple. 30-day contract, cancel it anytime you want to. Consideration is $1. I'm not going to collect the $1 from you, so it costs nothing. It simply enables me to work for your best interest when you're buying a house. And I would think you want that with any agent that you happen to be working with, and if they're not telling you that or offering you one, I'm not saying they're bad agents, but that would be a little bit of a red light flashing if you are looking for something. The third thing that I see buyers doing that is just a drastic mistake, in my opinion, is buying a house through the listing agent. I can't think of any individual that would have more of a conflict of interest than the listing agent. You see, the listing agent lists a home, and let's say, for example, it was a $300,000 listing with a 6% commission. Well, that's $18,000, and he's going to split that with the other agent that brings the buyer to the table, $9,000 each way. But if he gets the buyer and the seller, then he makes the entire $18,000. So I don't know how it could be any more irresistible for an agent to want to get the buyer to pay more and the seller to take less. Like I said, it's a conflict of interest. I think it's just a horrible idea. I don't even know why we allow that. But if you're buying a home, the last thing you want to do is to buy from a listing agent. The thing you do want to do is to get you a good buyer's broker that has an agreement and let him do his job. The biggest problem I have with buyers is getting them to let me do my job. There's so many of them, and people just think they know how to buy a house, and that it's they probably unconsciously associate it with buying a car, and there couldn't be anything more different than those two things, but I'll talk about that in a minute. The next thing is the offering price. Here again, I'll just go into that car scenario. A lot of buyers accustomed to buying a car, and all cars have a window sticker. And the concept is they want to go beat the dealer down on the window sticker price. And they'll go from dealer to dealer trying to do that. Real estate doesn't have a window sticker. It's got a current market value. And I have seen some of the dumbest things done by buyers that think they know what they're doing. A quick example is I have seen buyers look at the asking price, make an offer for $25,000 less than the asking price, get it accepted, and think they have made the deal of the century. I don't get paid to talk people out of buying a home. If I'm representing them, I'll tell them what they need to know, but I'm not going to twist their arm. In that kind of situation, I know that he has probably paid $20,000 too much. He thinks he's got a great deal because he don't know what he's doing, and I do. So when you have an agent, let that agent help you with the pricing of the offer that you make. And don't go around just making lowball offers waiting for somebody to accept your deal thinking you got a good deal. I don't know if you're familiar with a comedian or not, but if you are, I went to see Ron White one time over in Orlando, and my wife and I enjoyed it a lot. He said something that made a lot of sense, and that is you can't fix stupid. So a long time ago, I just quit trying to fix stupid. I give good advice. I try to help people every way I can. But there are people out there that just won't listen, and they just think they know what they're doing. There's all kind of ways to handle that, and I've kind of invented a few. The next thing that is really costs people a lot of time and money is their expectations of a home inspection. That's a real problem, and the other thing that's of equal importance is the amount of the deposit and why. I see people, and I have them send offers to me on my listings that's got a $500 deposit. Trying to buy a $300,000 house with a $500 deposit. Yeah, what I do is tell the buyer's agent to please discuss this with his client, and when the two of you grow a brain, come back and talk. I'd love to sell you this house. I have to let the seller know, but they don't usually have very much argument with that. Here's the difference in the deposits. If the house is sitting there empty, it's move-in ready, then the average deposit is about 1%. So if you're buying a $300,000 house, a $3,000 deposit should be enough to get their attention. But if that house is occupied, and you're going to make a $3,000 deposit, and the homeowner, before closing, he's got to go, and he's moving out to, say, Colorado, so he's got to get a moving and storage company to come give him an estimate, collect a non-refundable fee, which sometimes is $10,000. He's got to go out to Colorado, make deposits on all his utilities and phone, change his phone service over, perhaps make down payments on a house he's buying out there, or at least renting, and he comes back here and hopes that you close. Are you kidding me? What's going to happen to that $3,000 deposit if you don't close? And he does get it. Well, $1,500 of it goes to the buyer's agent. That would be me if I'm the buyer's agent. I have to split that with the listing agent, which means half of $1,500 comes to me if I'm the listing agent. And the guy that took the chance, he's getting $1,500 and not selling his house. So if that listing agent, here again, is very sharp, he's going to warn his homeowner that this guy's got a $3,000 deposit and you're really taking a risk if you accept this. Whereas if you were smart enough to make an offer with a sizable deposit in a case like that, the chances of you buying a home at a good price just improve quite a bit. So take a little advice about the deposit. It's not always the same. As far as the inspections, there are two types of contracts in Florida. There's the standard contract and the as-is contract. The standard contract is not used very much anymore. I'm not sure why, it just isn't. I don't see them coming my way very often. What that is a contract that allows a certain amount of money for any repairs that are discovered by a home inspection. Let's just say it's $1,500. The buyer has a home inspection, finds some items wrong, gets some prices on it. He's entitled to up to $1,500 to fix those things. Doesn't happen much anymore. And I doubt seriously that we have very many agents out there that would even understand how to write one. Because it is something that hadn't been around for a while. The as-is contract is often very well misunderstood. The reason being, You're buying the house based on as is where is condition. You have the contractual right to do a home inspection within a certain number of days. And at the end of those days, if you have not canceled your contract, then you're in the deal. If you find something in your home inspection you don't like, you can ask for those repairs to be made. But a lot of times sellers won't do that. And a lot of times it just is insane because the stuff is readily observable or it's disclosed on the disclosure statement that you've been given from the seller to you. Let me give you an example. Suppose that a buyer went out and looked at a house and it didn't have any windows or doors. The stove was gone and the kitchen counter. So he makes an offer on the house. Well, he knew that stuff was gone. And he obviously should have placed his pricing based on the understanding he would have to replace those things. Well, that happens. And then he has a home inspection, and the home inspector sats on there that the windows and the doors are missing and they need to be replaced and that they need a new stove and a new kitchen counter. And lo and behold, the buyer turns around and says something stupid like, I'm not going to buy this house if he won't fix this stuff. Really? You knew that going in. So be a little smarter than that. Don't waste your time because your time is just as valuable as anybody else's. And understand the difference in an as-is contract and what you're getting into. A lot of times your agent can work out some repairs even if it's an as-is contract, but not always. And most of the time, especially if it's a nice enough house in a good enough condition, they'll just tell you to go away, which is exactly what they should tell you. The last thing I'm going to mention to you in this video today, and there are many other things, but I think you're getting the idea that there's a little bit more to this than just meets the eye. And that is the repairs if you are having any done. Don't ever ask the seller to do the repairs. If the house needs a new roof, if it needs a new carpet, if it needs new flooring, if it needs new this, that, or the other, it might be that they have included in the MLS listing that they will replace X, Y, and Z. You do not want the seller to replace X, Y, and Z. What you want is the money at the time and place of closing so you can go fix X, Y, and Z. That's the only way you're going to get it done to your satisfaction. Because once that agreement's inked and the seller can go replace those items, believe me, he's not going to have to live with them past the closing date. You are. And so he's not going to be looking for high-quality repair work that might be a little more expensive than others, in most cases. That's not necessary for you to take that kind of risk. I strongly suggest to you to figure out the cost of those repairs, estimate them, tell them you'll do it, just give you the money at closing. It's the same amount of money out of his pocket. Very seldom will they object to that. Hopefully that's going to help you a little bit. I'm sorry if I sound a little aggravated by this, but these things are so important, and you just have no idea how often I see one or more of these things occurring. And it really boils down to this. If you'll just hire an agent that you know has experience, knowledge, education, well-meaning, and understands the law, that gets you into this deal and represents your interest to your best interest, you are far better off to let them take the first move. You tell them simply what you want to buy, how many bedrooms, whether you want a swimming pool, all of those things. Let that agent help you pick out the best homes in the best areas. Go look at them and decide if that is what you want. And when you find one that you do want, let that agent help you with preparing an offer. Myself, I was the only one I can speak for, but I'm not going to tell you what you have to offer. But I am going to tell you a range that you should get your offer in if you want to buy the house. Because most of the time, I look at the other factors that tell me whether or not your offer's even got a chance of being accepted. And I have people that use that car buying method of determining the amount. And I know I've told my wife a dozen times, and she's told me, oh, I'm just doing paperwork. He hadn't been around long enough to get turned down enough to know how to buy a house. all he knows how to do is make offer, and we're just going to swap paper until he wises up. And that's not in your best interest, because the first 2 or 3 houses you do that on might very well be the houses you would most want to live in for the next 10 or 15 years. So take some advice from me. Be careful. Get the right agent. You know who we are and what our phone number is. If we can help you, more than happy to do it. Thank you for listening.